Hi everyone, I just had a message that there was a poor connection, but I think we are good. So my name is Jennifer Kruidbos, and you know that because you're my Facebook friend. And this is the Tuesday afternoon session that I do every Tuesday. And I just want to say something that it's my third or fourth one, and it becomes more uncomfortable and more difficult each time, not the other way around. And that is probably because my first one, I had months and months of build up and integration of things that I wanted to say. And now I've said most of it. So what's coming through are things that I've learned and experienced much more recently. And it's much more uncomfortable to share. But I made a commitment to keep showing up for you guys and for myself. So here I am. Hi, Anthony. So last week, we were talking about, or I'll give you the overview. So every week I talk about four main things. These are four cornerstones that are lighting me up right now that I'm really interested in. So one is conscious activism. What is that? How can you learn, act, grow, collaborate in ways that start to shape your society in a positive way? Conscious activism. The second area that I focus in is grief, which is how to deal with the intense emotions of grief and loss. And what is grief? It's actually a process of moving forward and growing and learning than it is a stagnant, stuck state, and becoming an advocate for those who are in acute grief and are being misunderstood. And then the third area that I focus on is entrepreneurship and what is amazing about that. And the fourth area is essential oils and how they are one of my favorite self-care tools now, along with yoga and meditation and movement modalities. So just a quick note that this video will be a little bit more intense and a little bit more real in terms of the content. So I'm just warning you, I'm going to do some readings that we shared at the Leveraging Privilege Against Racism workshop last Wednesday. It was amazing. There were 5 of us, and I was really touched. And for me, I know that I am not a big force. I have friends that have been volunteering in refugee centers that have been doing far more than me. But for me, in my little corner and beginning to explore this world awkwardly, it was really, really moving and just gave me so much more insight of what I can do moving forward. So at this workshop, we shared some readings that are from 2 books. One is Is Everyone Really Equal? And the other one, I can't remember the name of it right now. And these were readings to show and sort of demystify and explain a lot of the racism and the privilege that is happening now. So I'm going to read 2 of them, and they definitely stir things up for me. They made me question things. They made me see things differently. They made me feel. So I'm going to share them with you. They're a little bit long, so hope you enjoy. The first one is written by Robin DiAngelo, perspective of a white person to probably mostly a white audience. So Robin says, "From the time I opened my eyes, I have been told that as a white person, I am superior to people of color. There's never been a space in which I have not been receiving that message, from what hospital I was allowed to be born in, to how my mother was treated by the staff, to who owned the hospital, to who cleaned the rooms and took out the garbage. We are born into racial hierarchy, and every interaction with media and culture confirms it. Our sense that, at a fundamental level, we are superior. And the thing is, it feels good, even though it contradicts our most basic principles and values. So we know it, but we can never admit it. It creates this kind of dangerous internal stew that gets enacted externally in our interactions with people of color and is crazy-making for people of color. We have set up a world to preserve that internal sense of superiority and also resist challenges to it, all while denying that anything is going on and insisting that race is meaningless to us." That's by Robin DiAngelo. And this incredible handout was made by my co-collaborator, Rebecca Woodmass, who is so on the ball and is teaching me pretty much everything about intersectional feminism these days. So now this is a reading by Zach Linley, and this is written more to a marginalized or racialized audience. And it's intense. It's intense for me to read. We'll see how it lands with you. So Zach Linley writes, I understand that white people are mad. They've gone their whole lives being the default for social and cultural normalcy and never really had to think critically about race at all. Now a black first lady addresses the nation and she talks about slavery. Now social media identifies and challenges their microaggressions. They're getting the tint snatched off their rose-colored glasses. That shining city on the hill they know as America is starting to lose some of its gloss. And they ain't here for that, but we are. So we need to let them cry, let them gripe about how white is the new black, and they are now the true victims of racism because their black coworkers don't invite them to lunch, or some black guy on the train called them a cracker, or because black people on the interwebs hurt their feelings. Parenthetically, how nice it must be to have the option of simply logging off your oppression. We need to let them cry. We need to learn how to just sit our intellectual selves back and enjoy it. If Colin Kaepernick's decision to stand against social injustice by sitting during the national anthem has shown us anything else, it's that much of white America is more bothered by our methods of protest than they will ever be by the injustices we're protesting. Let's dispel the notion that if we only protested better, white people will miraculously become more receptive of our message and less scornful of our audacity in speaking out. The fact is, we can fight systemic racism without white validation. We can continue shutting down bridges and highways every time there's a new Alton Sterling, Philando Castile, or Corin Gaines in the news, and let white folks complain about the intrusion on their lives. We can continue moving our black dollars into black banks and keeping our money in our businesses and communities. We don't need them to get it for us to keep fighting. And likewise, white people who truly want to be allies can find their path to allyship without black validation and without us having to take the time out of our days to educate them. They can find their own curriculum and figure out for themselves how they can do their part in fighting the good fight. And they can do it without the promise of black praise. And I'm not about to keep checking to see if they're doing that much, because it's not my job and it's not yours either. So that is by Zach Linley. And certainly I'll speak for myself reading that. It felt like truth, when truth kind of like smacks you in the face. And, brought up a bunch of my sort of white privileged person guilt and woke me up a lot and has certainly put this, fire in my belly to want to make a difference. It's part of the reason, why I'm talking about this stuff right now. This is part of my research and part of my education. And maybe you know more than me and you can comment and let me know and share, or we can have a direct message conversation like Crystal KJ, who is so awesome. Thank you for being in my life and chatting with me when it was appropriate. Or maybe this is teaching you something, which I hope. So now let this land. And I'll segue a little bit into grief because it's going to bring up feelings, okay? And how I understand processing grief is that if you are not, to me, if you're not constantly in a state of processing some sort of grief, you're not feeling anything, because life is constantly new beginnings and endings. There's constant endings. And if you are someone who's going through grief, whether if it's cultural or global or personal, and you've been getting the message to like enough is enough already, that's just, someone not wanting to feel, of course, within a spectrum. But if there is a flow in your life where you're having moments of feeling good and having moments of feeling down, that is totally normal. And so much of what I'm doing is taking action each day to get out of being comfortable and allow myself to feel the intense emotions of either what's going on in my personal life or what's going around. You're going to make me cry, Crystal. For real. Of what's going around in my own life. So the message around that is let yourself get uncomfortable. Do the research that is really uncomfortable. Process the feelings. Find your modality. I'm going to talk about some self-care fun things because you have to balance these really intense videos with some self-care. And then I'll speak to myself. Then I can keep on taking action. So that is the little grief segue. And what I also want to say in the grief segue is there is something that has the cutest word to describe something that's really uncomfortable and horrible. And the cute word is a STUG, S-T-U-G. And what it describes is a sudden, temporary upsurge of grief. And STUGs are normal. So maybe there's something that happened months ago or years ago, and then all of a sudden you hear a song or you smell something or you go back to an old restaurant and you're sort of overcome with this intense emotion. That's a STUG. It's okay. It's not a problem. And the idea is to let it arise and pass. And I bring it up because if when I've studied grief, there could be complicated grief, which can be you're not moving through the tasks and you're not processing. And a STUG is outside of that. So just because you have an intense emotion years and years after the loss, it doesn't mean you're stuck in complicated grief necessarily, but you'd have to speak to your therapist specifically about that. But I'm just planting seeds and ideas. So that is the grief segue. Coming back to the conscious activism. So now we're more woke, right? When I say we, maybe privileged white people are more woken up to what's happening. So now what can we do? And I love Rebecca so much. She printed us out this handout. I'm going to ask her if I can make it a PDF to share because it shares the 4 action items, the four ways to be an activist. And for a big change to happen, you need all 4. So the first one is an advocate. So this is the type of person who is, you would say, like appealing to the people of power. Communication with the power holders, maybe writing letters to people in politics, that sort of thing. Then there's the helper. So this is really one-on-one work. Maybe you're volunteering. Maybe you're part of a call center. You know, it's really I definitely identify as a helper. Many people who are yoga teachers might as well. Then there's the organizer role. I wish I identified as this. So does my mom, I think, but I don't. And the organizers are the people more behind the scenes who can organize large, just put together like the logistics, the admin, the timeline, everything that will help the advocate and the helper succeed. And then the 4th one is the rebel role, who sees problem or injustice and prefers to make a commotion of some kind. I don't really want to advocate that, but there it is. This is the research that it is. You need all 4. So what can you do? I just want to give some concrete action items. Like a very easy thing just to start with is just donating. I mean, money is power in this economy. So where you put that money will make a difference. So quickly, a few places you can donate to: Black Lives Matter, Organization for Black Struggle. This is all from the handout that Rebecca made. Thank you, Rebecca. This is all your content. Okay, Crystal's saying you are a helper and organizer and an advocate as well as a rebel with what you do. Well, those are very kind words. Yeah, I will take the compliment. Thank you, Crystal. Your sister taught me how to take compliments. So the places you can donate to: Asylum Seeker Advocacy Project, European Descent. These are all areas that you can Google. Oh, of course, the No DAPL, the No Dakota Access Pipeline. Festival International du Film Black de Montréal, Native Women's Shelters in Montreal, Barrier Lake and Solidarity. So number 1, donate. And all of these places, like most of them, will have volunteer opportunities too, right? So just going and volunteering some of your time makes a huge difference. And I think it was Maya Angelou who said that, I'm paraphrasing, but she said, it's such a shame when people are disconnected from the ways that they're helping people. I really massacred that. But basically she's saying, if you just donate, you're not as connected, and you don't get that sense of feeling good, because it feels good to help, and it feels like you're beginning to make a difference. And to be honest, when I am steeped in all of this work, it can become really depressing. So starting to take action and doing things is, I think, part of the self-care. It can feel good. So find an hour or two. It can feel really awesome. Okay, I'm closing off grief and advocacy. I know it was a lot. Just let you digest. It segues for me right into entrepreneurship, which more and more it's been a passion of mine since I've been freelance for the last 5 years, and now I'm really I have the privilege of stepping into a role of more of an entrepreneur, just with the trainings and the community that I'm part of now. And the way I see entrepreneurship and why I think it's so important for all of us, and in many ways, I know Rebecca disagrees with me on this, so I'm saying it timidly, but this is how I understand it. The skills that we learn, that I have learned as an entrepreneur, I see that they can work well for any movement. Whether it's like marketing and communications, or learning how to manage your finances, or building your community and building your list. To me, these are things that we all need to learn if we're going to have a voice. And we all have the opportunity to have a voice now with social media and how fast everything zips around the world. So if we just have a few more skills to amplify that, what an incredible thing. And one of my best friends and old roommates, Natalie Riviere, her whole business is based on that. You should check out cometa.com. Stands for loving kindness, meta, and communication. And it's being able to, level the playing field of people online, so that it's not just big business that have the skills and that are dominating online, right? It's for, a variety of voices, and for marginalized and racialized and artists, or people who have less financial power. So learning the skills, starting to build your business, gives you agency to move forward any cause that you have. Okay, so this is the why. And then if you're trying to build a business or your movement, write out what your why is. Why are you doing this? And look at it every day, because the truth is that it can be so, whether it's like an activist movement, or if it is building your yoga business or your essential oil business, or whatever it is that you're doing. Hi, Justin. If you're building, I think you're an entrepreneur too, doing amazing landscaping. Just getting stuck in the day-to-day and the stress and the work, and you're tired and you have a family and you're running around and the whole thing. I'm running around the whole thing. When I get quiet and connect back to why I'm doing this, it kind of gives me this like rush of energy again. So part of why I've been doing the yoga for 5 years is really empowering people to be their own health advocates, to bring part of healthcare back into our own hands. Yes, of course we need Western medicine. Of course we need doctors. That is an awesome system that has helped me personally and my family so many times. And can there be a whole bunch of preventative and complementary care that we get educated about and take into our own hands? So that is part of my big why. And when I connect to that, I'm like, yes, I want to build this. I want to educate people about using essential oils. I want to educate people about managing their emotions with stress management and etc. And then, so the next part of that is then the who. Who are you speaking to? So for myself, I'm speaking to people exactly like me, or maybe that are just have a little bit less experience in the field that I'm at. A lot of people that I help often, especially with building the doTERRA business, are people that want to get out of the corporate world. They feel like they don't have any control over their time or their lives, or what they're passionate about. So showing them the tools, how they can take care of themselves, and also showing them that there is another way to build financial stability and help people and choose our own schedules. That's one section of people that I'm taking care of. And then the other are yoga teachers that are just doing such beautiful work. These are the people that I'm working with already. People like Jen Wendy or Patricia or Vanessa or Tiffany or Nina, and are doing such amazing work as, like doing movement modality or healing. I don't want to say the word healer because that has like a woo connotation, but in many ways we are healers, whether it's Pilates or yoga teachers, and they're just like scraping by, and they're either a single mom or young mothers, and they're trying to take care of their family or just on their own trying to carry the rent, and showing them the skills to step up in their leadership, step up in their personal growth, give them tools, give them a community. That makes me feel so good. And like I said last week, I know the people that I'm helping share my values. And this is the thing, being good at business just amplifies what's important to you. When I refine my business skills, my relationship building, my networking, my marketing and communication, which, at best of times isn't great because I tend to do things fast and there's typos. I know that, but the better I get at that and the better I manage my time, what's important to me, I can just amplify. And so I think there's this, like, again, I always come back to this because I think it's really strong and it really exists. And people say this to me all the time that I don't want to be a business person, because of course there is such a negative connotation with that, because there are a lot of big corporations doing horrible things in the world right now. Just look at Standing Rock, and that is just an amplification of their values, which is profit above all else. So if your values include, people, environment, and then profit, you can amplify that work with business skills, with learning how to become a business person. Does that make sense? Hi, Caro. So that's my entrepreneurial piece. And then I'm going to start finishing with the essential oils, because even in our leveraging privilege against racism workshop, that's a mouthful, leveraging privilege against racism workshop last week, we finished with honoring and self-care, because it is heavy work. It does seem really overwhelming. I was working on a project today where we're going to have to kind of maybe help this amazing organization shift their focus, and it's just so big, it's so overwhelming. So having tools to self-care and align with your values is really fun. So the one that I'm covering today, which is one that many women ask me, is skincare and healthcare. I guess I can't escape skincare. I guess I can't escape it because it always finds a way to find me. So, using essential oils in the oil cleansing method. Have you heard of this? This has become my favorite self-care ritual these days. I do it every morning and every evening. And what it basically involves is taking some essential oils, I have them right here, mixing these 4 ingredients. So this is the Divine Essence castor oil that you can get at any drugstore. This is argan oil that a friend of mine was in Morocco and got me some. I just have a bit left. But you could substitute this with olive oil or almond oil to find the most eco, the best one that's best for your skin. And then 2 essential oils. Of course, I'm using doTERRA because that's the brand that I stand by. Lavender is sourced in France and Bulgaria, and frankincense is sourced in Somalia. And there are excellent projects that are going on there around, paying the farmers really well, building schools. So there's definitely a heart around this company, which is why I work with them. So this is what I use to clean my face. Do you want to know how? Hi, Maddie. This is what I use to cleanse my face. And I feel so good because there's only 4 ingredients going on my face. They're right here. There's not the list of, dozens that I don't necessarily know the names of. And as I've said in older classes or previous classes, what David Suzuki has taught us is that a lot of the ingredients that the beauty industry uses aren't regulated. They aren't even allowed in the EU, but somehow they're coming into our homes and going onto our bodies. So I feel good that I know what I'm putting on my body, in my body, right? Because it gets absorbed right into our skin. And I feel good that there's nothing that was tested on animals. And I feel good that there isn't that much waste because at least these 3 can be refilled. This I'll probably refill, knowing myself. And what I mix it in can also be refilled and given as offered as gifts. So that's what feels good. So this is how you do it. You can just Google the oil cleansing method, or you can watch me do it, whatever you prefer. So you take your empty vial, and then you fill it mostly to here with your carrier oil. So I would use argan oil. As you can see, I'm almost run out, so we'll probably add a little bit more sunflower oil, has lots of vitamin E in it, or almond oil. So about to here. Then I would fill 1/5 of it with castor oil. Now you're going to want to use a little bit more if your skin is oily and a little bit less if your skin is dry. It's a very, very thick oil if you've ever used castor oil. It's also, castor oil. And I was going to say it's called vegetable oil, but it's not. And then put about 10 drops. Maddie, you can confirm, but I do 10 drops of each frankincense and 10 drops of lavender. So all of that goes into this little guy. Here, pour it all in. So here's a full one. And then you mix it all up. I do this every morning. It smells amazing. And then, I'm not actually going to do this for you guys because I have a friend coming over. I don't want to do it just yet. But I pour it into the palm of my hand. I rub it on. And then I will massage it all over my face. Massage, massage, massage. And as someone who grew up with acne and pimples, putting oil on my face the first time was like terrifying. I was like, I can't do this. But the thing is, I'm just going to keep doing the hand movements as I talk to really drive this point home that this is what you're doing the whole time. You're like massaging your face. The point is that if you're using like a cleanser, especially with acne prone skin, it strips the sebum away and then your skin is dry, it's producing more sebum, and the top layer, the epidermis gets hardened, and then the sebum gets trapped inside, you get more pimples. But with this, everything is just oiled up and it feels really good. I don't like to use this image, but you know, if you oil up leather, back when I would wear leather boots and things, right, you're working it in, and that's what's keeping it soft. So the same thing for my skin, and I haven't gotten any breakouts, and I'm even on my menstrual cycle, and I haven't gotten any pimples. I didn't know I was getting it, because usually I get all these breakouts, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to start my menstrual cycle, but I didn't get one, so it caught me off guard. But it's amazing, because I don't have to deal with uncomfortable, unsightly pimples. So rub it all in. So I've been doing this for about 2 minutes. Then take a washcloth, rub it, run it under hot water, and then with the washcloth, so this is, should I actually do it? How literal is everyone on Facebook Live today? So once it's wet, then use it just like that, very gently. And that's it. You're done. And it's the winter, and I don't even add another moisturizer or anything. That is all I do. And then I feel good, and that's just another tool in my self-care toolkit that also is in line with the impact that I want to make, and it makes me feel good, it makes my skin feel good, and I show up each day feeling happy. Then of course I'll put sunscreen on. I'm buying sunscreen right now. In a few classes I will be doing a demo on how to make your own sunscreen. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week. Please write me any questions or comments that you have. Okay, bye. And for you.